Hi everybody, it's Kathy here from Kathy Loves to Scrap, and I'm back today with a video that I've created for a layout from Mystical Scrapbooks challenge, where it was a colour challenge. And this one here we have to use the three colours supplied, which are the beigey mushroom, the real mushroom and the turquoise colour. And I created this layout for my daughter's wedding album. She's been married for 1 year now and I'm still going through the photos. I've pulled together all of my papers. I've got some Minte paper cut aparts here, which you can see, and they blend with the colours. And I've gone ahead and fussy cut those out. I have quite a few of those from my orders from Mystical Scrapbooks, which is really good and handy because they just blend so nicely. I've also got some vellum stickers that I'm going to use and this wooden chippy title that I will colour stain for it. I went through all of my branding strips and I found a couple of quotes which are perfect for this page, and I'm using a range of photos, but mostly I'm concentrating on their rings because this is the page about their rings. And my son-in-law designed the rings. They have got some turquoise and some rubies and some diamonds, and in the inscription it says, "I'll ride the waves with you," and that's so romantic and so perfect, and he just made them up for them, so I thought they need their own special page. So I've got the colours that I've pulled together out of my stash, which is awesome, bashing my stash, which is really good, and I'm choosing this mushroom base here. It's also got a bit of a fleck through it in the beigey colour or the lighter mushroom. And the turquoise I'm going to use as my framing. And I do have all of this ready to go, and I'm cutting out my 1-inch frame, as you can see, and then I'm layering up with that base paper there. And that base paper is going to be what I use to build my background for this layout. I've gone through now with the other coloured papers, and I'm cutting out a I think it's a 10.5 by 10.5 for the back square, and then I did a 9 by 9 for the inner square. And I have now got a fishtail banner that's going along there, and I actually extend that fishtail banner by cutting it again because I don't know why I didn't do to the end. Using my framing turquoise here to the maximum, and I'm using circles to highlight the key points I want to look at in the photos. I've got my Creative Memories circle cutters, which I've had forever and a day, and I absolutely love them for nesting because it's so easy with the blades to marry them perfectly. And you can see here that I've taken this photo, and I have used this photo of them before on a layout for their album, but this allows you to see and focuses in because you can see her holding out a hand with the ring as well. I'm building my clusters of circles because they're going to build the elements around the framing of the ring photos. I've gone and taken bits and pieces from all over the pages, which is okay because they all get covered up and over matted. I'm just speeding through here how I put them all together because you all know how to put a circle or layer or nester it together using my tape to build it up. Now, to add some interest to my layout, I am just dressing around the edges of my pieces of paper that I'm using. That's just so that it has a little bit more interest and lifts it off the page. I've just gone ahead and cut 2 strips to add in and tuck in behind, just a little bit more interesting around the top, a little bit more detail, giving it a bit of a lift and making it all tied together in the 3 colour scheme. Now, one of the requirements for the challenge is that you have to use a stencil, so I'm using this heart stencil, and I'm using the solar paste in the crocodile tears, which has got a green sheen to it or a teal sheen to it, and that keeps the colours true for the challenge. As you can see, I'm using my Tim Holtz Distress Tool. Pardon me. Getting a little bit of a sick cold happening, which is not good. Alright, so I've laid up my flat photos onto this mounting, and a trick I learned off Vicky Burton to use washi tape on the back to stabilize it when you have 2 loose joins together. So that's what I do on the back of this one. I put the washi tape to hold the 2 photos together, and I trim down my frame. Alright, so now I'm ready to build the rest of my page, and I know this is going through fast because really it's just layering up of paper using my mounting tape here, the expressive tape, to make sure that it all adheres. And you can see that the squares are now starting to look off-center, which is great because it's drawing the eye over to the right-hand side of the page. And as I said, I cut that banner a little bit too short, but that's okay because it'll be hidden, and this is the best part about scrapping. If you make a mistake, you just cover it up with embellishments, or you cover it up with your photos and you stretch it out, and nobody knows. I'm adding in this strip here that I found from my branding strips, and it's the same colours, and it's got a little bit of a music note to it, which is perfect. Tying it in together, and you can see where those photos are held together there with the washi tape so that they don't move. There's their photos, the main key feature, the rings, of course, and I'm just layering in how I want this to look on the page. I love circles on a page. They're one of my favourite elements. I don't know, I just think that they're pleasing and they look good, and you can do a lot with circles. So I'm layering down these ones nice and flat, and then I'm going to pop the one of the two of them together, my daughter and her husband, and you can see there. And she didn't have a traditional wedding. She chose to wear black, and which was good for her because she is a washed out pale all the time, so white would have just been too flat for her, whereas the black made her look stunning and made her stand out. This title here, I'm just working out where I'm going to put it, because in a moment I'm going to grab my Distress Stain, and I'm using the Victorian Velvet colour. I love this colour. It's a mushroomy colour, which is perfect for this layout combination. And I'm just quickly distress staining it, and that's the best part about these distress stains. They dry really quickly, and I like them, and they colour up, and it's a true colour because it's a pigment. I'm gluing that down with my tacky glue. Best glue ever. It just sits everything together, regardless of the material that you're using. And I'm going to place that title in there over the top of the photos. It's acid free, so I know it's not going to eat the photos, and it's in place. So now I'm just going to dress the page, as I call it. I zhuzh it. So I'm just going to use those vellum stickers, and got two hummingbirds, and they face each other, which is perfect. I'm going to put one here in the top left, and then I've got the second one, which I'm going to put down here to the right, and it's going to hug the end of that banner tag. So now I have the balance of the two, one to the left, one to the right, both facing each other. That draws your eye from one point to the other, because you can see that you're going to look at the two of them without detracting from the photos. That's the key with clusters. They shouldn't detract from the photos, I don't think, because your photos are meant to be the key part of your layout. I have a vellum sticker of a mushroom coloured rose, which fits in perfectly with the theme, given that this is the wedding. And I am tucking one in under the photo here, so it doesn't overlap that quote that I have at the bottom, and they lived happily ever after. I just push that in there so it starts the end of that cluster. And the hummingbird hovering over the top just looks perfect for there. Alright, now I'm going to use all of these fussy cut elements that I got out of that cut apart, and I'm just going to layer some flat and some I'm going to pop up with pop tape, because dimension adds interest to the layout and draws the eye in. Shadows are always good on a page. It creates that element of a lumpy bumpy visual effect that people like to look at, but doesn't take away from the photos, and that's the key. Don't take away from your photos. They're the key elements. Because this is going into the wedding album, I don't really have to put any journaling. I don't have to do any dating. All of that's been done on other pages, so it's all just going into the one, oh, actually about 5 albums I think it'll end up when I'm finished. So these, I just play around until I'm happy with the aesthetics of the page. Adding in little hearts to overlay the top of the heart, and you can see that that's there. Now I always come back into my layouts with some Nuvo drops or pops of colour, and for this one I'm going with the teal because there's a lot of mushroom on the page and I want to really highlight the teal colour. So I'm bringing in that with my pops of colour here. And the best thing about these pops of colour, they're like Nuvo drops. They're just very creamy and they've got a pearlesque touch to them. And what I need to do is just flick them underneath, and then they form a nice smooth dome, and it looks like an enamel dot without being an enamel dot when it dries. So that's always nice on a page, and I do them in clusters of 3, as you know, because 3s are pleasing to the eye. And you can see that I have pulled this together pretty quickly. It's the hardest part was the circles and the clustering of the circles. The distressing added that little bit of extra interest to the page. I've got my stenciling in there and the background with the little hearts, as you can see, and that page has come together quite easily. This will have a nice place in the album, and it's reminiscent of their rings, which is really important because they are just beautiful, those rings. Alright, so thank you for looking at this again. Here you can see it all done with those clusters in place, the photos and the circles. I'm Kathy Loves to Scrap. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram where you'll find all my layouts, and I really appreciate the time it takes for you to stop and watch. Give me a like if you found anything that was great, and I'll see you next time. Happy scrapping!